This video is probably gonna make some people angry, but that's okay because I think it's a message that needs to be shared. So I'm going to share it anyway. Someone compared my daughter giving me a pedicure to a basement of a Mongolian daycare. And perhaps you're just as confused as I was, so let me explain. The other day, I posted a photo of my daughter giving me a pedicure at home. An acquaintance messages me and he says it looks like a basement of a Mongolian daycare, and then sends me videos of white men showing up at immigrant-run daycares demanding answers. And then he says to me, look at how the immigrants respond. I ask him if it's legit, and he says, yes, it's all over the news. And I tell him, well, this is one of the reasons I don't watch the news, as it's usually one-sided and not always accurate. To which he responds, never mind, we don't need to debate this. So I go on to tell him that it's not about debating. It's actually about the ability to think critically and not run on assumptions based on what you saw. It's important to do your own research. So then he continues to say that he could walk into the YMCA and he would be treated better than that. So then I asked him, well, would you open the door and hand over information to strangers? No organization would, especially when people show up unannounced. And then he says that he could walk into a school and go to the reception desk, no problem, and he did so last week. Sure, you can go to reception in a school, but you can't wander the schools. People in the hallways, people will stop and question you. Why? Because they have an obligation to protect students and children in their care. So anyway, he gets even more mad and defensive and says, bye, I see that you stand with immigrants. And this is where I want to stop and say this. Even if those people running those daycares are guilty of fraud, we need to stop blaming immigrants and using hate and racism to form our opinions and responses to situations. This includes all people of color, not just those who are immigrants. And it's more critical than ever to check our biases, take a good hard look at the world around us, what's currently happening in those areas, and where that information is coming from. We need to ask the critical questions and be able to think for ourselves. We cannot form assumptions and opinions solely based on what we see on social media or in the news. So fact check, do your own research, consider the context, and ask who benefits from the narrative being pushed. And please, please, let's stop with the hate.